Can you believe that a tiny strip of water could have the power to strangle the global economy and ignite devastating wars? Just one tremor, and everything could collapse. Yet, humanity continues to gamble its very existence on these lethal choke points. Places where the hungry ocean suddenly swallows the path twice a day. Where massive steel ships vanish without a single distress signal. Today, let's expose the truth about the most dangerous sea routes in the world. Places that, by all rights, should never have existed. What is the mystery behind these lines between life and death? Stay tuned until the end of the video, because the truth about our final destination is guaranteed to haunt you. When we mention the Strait of Hormuz, the image of a powder keg waiting to explode immediately comes to mind. Stretching between Iran and Oman, this narrow waterway, less than 21 miles wide, is the sole choke point connecting the Persian Gulf to the vast ocean. Yet, it shoulders the weight of approximately 30% of the world's oil. This is the planet's most intense underground battlefield, where US carrier strike groups and Iranian armed forces constantly stand toe-to-toe. Sea mines lurk beneath the dark waves, and ballistic missiles loom in the skies. A single, misplaced trigger pull could set global energy prices ablaze, sparking a war of total destruction from which there is no return. And yet, behind that suffocating curtain of smoke and steel, many have forgotten that Hormuz was once a surreal masterpiece. Leaving the warships behind, you'll find Rainbow Island. Here, the beaches are as red as blood, created from a rare iron oxide soil, Gilak, so unique, it's actually edible. Over 70 different minerals have turned the entire island into a prism of ever-changing colors. Nature also gifted this place the world's longest natural salt cave, along with towering canyons eroded over millions of years. Amidst the arid land, UNESCO-protected mangroves resiliently filter salt from the sea, sheltering a vibrant ecosystem. Despite their isolation, the local people cling to the cliffs, preserving a 500-year-old Portuguese fort. 366 sacred ancient wells and centuries-old wind towers. A masterpiece of nature and history now held hostage by ruthless geopolitical games. Will this paradise be swallowed by the smoke of war forever? Leaving the heat of the Middle East, we head to the Atlantic coast of France to encounter the Passage du Gois, famously known as the Devil's Road. At first glance, this ribbon of road connecting the mainland to the island of Noirmoutier looks like an oil painting. The shimmering water and gentle breeze seem to invite dreamers to enjoy the taste of freedom. But do not let that poetic beauty deceive you. Since it was paved in 1924, the Passage du Gois has essentially been a life-and-death gamble with Mother Nature. It is one of the most unique and dangerous disappearing roads on the planet. Without missing a beat, the hungry ocean rises and completely swallows this path under 13 feet of water, twice every single day. The hourglass is always ticking. You have a life window of a mere 1.5 to 2 hours during low tide to rush across. Even scarier, the tide here doesn't rise slowly. It rushes in with terrifying speed. A single minute of hesitation or a sudden engine stall, and your car instantly becomes a steel coffin tossed about by the raging sea. At that point, your only chance of survival is to abandon your vehicle and run. You are forced to climb the skeletal rescue towers perched along the route, huddling there as you helplessly watch the cold currents consume your car. The Passage du Gois is breathtaking, but it leaves absolutely no room for error. If the trap in France claims lives through silence, then in northwest Norway, Mother Nature eats humans alive with primal fury. Welcome to the Atlantic Ocean Road, a fragile ribbon draped across the talons of death. From a drone's perspective, this 5-mile stretch leaps across 8 arching bridges that cut through the ocean waves. It is a legendary destination, for thrill seekers, boasting magnificent, soul-stirring beauty. But don't let those vibrant photos fool you. Those bizarre curves aren't for show. They are a desperate attempt to withstand the superstorms of the Atlantic. The most haunting feature is the Oresund Bridge, the bridge to nowhere. With an 8% incline, an optical illusion makes the road ahead appear to suddenly snap, as if waiting to hurl everything into the abyss. During storm season, this road, barely 21 feet wide, turns into a nightmare trap. Monster waves roar, slamming tons of freezing water directly into cars desperately clinging to the pavement. A proud wonder of engineering, yet one ready to cruelly punish anyone who dares to challenge the ocean. If it were you standing before that wall of giant waves, would you close your eyes and hit the gas, or would you turn back and run? Let me know in the comments. In Norway, man must hold his breath to slip through the ocean's claws, but in the Greater Bay Area, humanity chose to throw an iron punch to tame the sea. Stretching 34 miles, 20 times the length of the Golden Gate Bridge, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge is not just a road. It is a massive ecosystem crawling across the waves like a great concrete sea monster. Forged to stand defiant for 120 years against super typhoons, this steel skeleton extends its tentacles to link 11 cities, carrying the ambition to rival Silicon Valley and rewrite the global technological order. Yet hidden behind that proud architecture is a deeply haunting visual experience. You are driving straight through the vast ocean, with no stopping point and no land in sight. Then suddenly, the road dives into the sea, swallowing you into an underwater tunnel nearly 4.3 miles long. Sunlight vanishes, replaced by the crushing pressure of millions of tons of water directly overhead. You are no longer moving across the waves, you are piercing the heart of the ocean. At this moment, the challenge is no longer about structural integrity, but human psychology. When the starting point has faded and the end is nowhere in sight, a question echoes in your mind. Am I crossing a wonder connecting the world? Or am I lost in an endless space with no way out? It is in that moment you realize some structures aren't just built to conquer nature. They are built to remind us how small we truly are. Bidding farewell to the grit of China's massive concrete blocks, we head toward Northeast Asia to face a white dragon hidden in the clouds, the Incheon Bridge. Spanning over 11 miles across the Deveson Seas, this is South Korea's greatest cable-stayed bridge, a vital artery connecting the international transport hub of Incheon with the city of the future, Songdo. But don't let its slender appearance fool you. Here, the sea doesn't attack with violent waves, but with the eerie silence of thick, suffocating fog. In the early mornings or during seasonal shifts, the entire bridge is swallowed by a wall of white, turning this route into a mesmerizing horror film. You drive through a hazy void where the boundary between the sea and the sky vanishes. A single second of distraction, and the fog becomes a silent assassin. Honestly, if you aren't careful, you might wonder if you're driving to work or flying straight into the afterlife. It's not just the fog. Relentless gale-force winds from the ocean are always waiting to blow everything away. With height variations of over 30 feet, every yard of the road is a battle of wits between advanced technology and the harshness of nature. This is where the resilient spirit of the Korean people is realized. A structure with no room for failure, a marvel that has conquered the world to earn the most prestigious awards from Euro Money and ENR. The Incheon Bridge is more than just a highway. It is a gateway of light, making South Korea shine brightly at the heart of Northeast Asia in the 21st century. Its technology is so advanced, you might think it's being controlled by a supercomputer hidden beneath the seabed. Leaving the sky-high cables of South Korea, we come to a visual paradox in the Netherlands. The Veluwemeer Aqueduct. While other bridges lift humans into the air, the architects in the town of Harderwijk chose to submerge us beneath the water. From a distance, you'll see an impossible sight. Sailboats gliding leisurely, directly over the heads of busy traffic. Don't rub your eyes, you aren't dreaming. Instead of building a costly high bridge, or a complex undersea tunnel, the Dutch performed a clever physics hack in 2002. They created a massive water flume, 82 feet long and 10 feet deep, for ships to pass proudly above. While 28,000 vehicles a day traverse 2 lanes submerged 33 feet below. It's a design so budget-friendly, it makes accountants smile, yet so effective, it makes architects tip their hats. Here you don't just drive, you can also take a leisurely stroll on the pedestrian paths flanking the bridge, to watch the sea level sitting higher than the road. The sensation of standing below and watching ships glide over your head truly makes you question gravity. Perhaps the Veluwemeer architect thought, why build a bridge for cars to drive on when we can build a river for boats to sail on? This project didn't just solve a traffic problem, it's a statement. Sometimes going against the crowd is the shortest path to genius. Moving on from the miracles of the Netherlands, we head north to witness a testament to great unity. The Oresund Bridge, more than just a 10-mile stretch of concrete connecting Copenhagen and Malmö. This structure is a historic handshake between Denmark and Sweden, merging 2 neighboring nations into a single economic heartbeat. The Oresund is a complex 3-in-1 marvel. A proud 5-mile cable-stayed bridge, a man-made island named Pebberholm, and a mysterious tunnel diving straight through the seabed. Imagine driving through the middle of the blue sky, waves roaring beneath the sturdy pillars, when suddenly, the road vanishes into the depths of the ocean. This sudden transformation isn't for show, but a brilliant engineering solution to allow planes to land at Copenhagen Airport while protecting the fragile marine ecosystem. Here, trains and cars run side by side like close companions on a unique double-decker structure. Whether facing blizzards or gale-force winds, the Oresund stands firm, like a technological fortress. It has dismantled political barriers, turning a commute between 2 countries into nothing more than a cross-border stroll. At the Oresund, you see that humans don't just build bridges to cross geographical distances, they build them to connect hearts. Perhaps the only challenge here is making sure you don't get so caught up in the horizon that you forget you're driving into another country. Have you ever stepped onto a bridge that seems to be invisible? Leaving the massive megastructures behind, we return to the Netherlands to face a visual paradox at the ancient Fort de Rouveure. Forget those proud spans high above, because the Moses Bridge chooses to bury itself beneath the water. From afar, you see nothing but a lake surface as flat as a mirror. Preserving the fort's historical beauty without any modern structures blocking the view. But as you draw closer, a strange trench appears, splitting the moat like a true miracle. True to its name, inspired by the biblical story of Moses parting the Red Sea. This bridge allows you to walk through the water while your feet stay dry. Imagine the sensation of the cold water sitting right at the edge of the bridge. You could reach out and touch it at shoulder height while you stroll between two vertical walls of water. Don't worry about rot or flooding. The entire structure is made of Akoya wood, a super material treated to defy bacteria and mold, making it even more durable than metal in wet environments. Even when heavy rains fall, automatic pumps and smart dams spring into action, ensuring the water level stays stable and never overflows the walls. The Moses Bridge isn't just a path, it's a humble whisper of architecture in the face of nature. If you stood before this invisible trench, would you be willing to step down and experience the sensation of parting the waters to cross this miniature ocean? Leaving the invisible waters of the Netherlands, our journey crosses the ocean to reach a mobile fortress on the American coast. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge-Tunnel. Stretching over 17 miles to connect Virginia Beach with the Delmarva Peninsula, this complex, opened in 1964, is a monumental feat consisting of long trestle bridges interspersed with man-made islands and two massive tunnels diving deep beneath the bay. Combining bridges and tunnels wasn't just an architectural choice, it was the result of a strict requirement from the US Navy. To ensure that massive fleets of warships and submarines could enter and exit the bay without bridge pillars in the way. Engineers surrendered the surface to the military and hid the traffic artery beneath the silt and sand. During the Cold War years, this design was also a strategic security move. Underwater tunnels are harder to destroy than high bridges and don't interfere with the military's advanced radar systems. Driving here gives you a true sensation of surfing the ocean before being suddenly swallowed into the deep for over a mile, where nuclear submarines might be gliding directly over your head. The Chesapeake is not just a technical masterpiece. It is a symbol of the intersection between the ambition to conquer nature and peak military power. However, if the Chesapeake is a marriage of land and sea, the next location is a direct confrontation with sheer cliffs where the road seems determined to hurl every traveler into the abyss. The floating bridge. Located in Zaryadye Park, the modern green jewel of Russia, this structure is a masterpiece that makes anyone stop and stare. Though called a bridge, its true function is a massive observation deck reaching nearly 230 feet out over the river. What stuns architects is its daring V-shaped design, thrusting straight into thin air without a single supporting pillar beneath it. The entire structure seems to defy gravity, an architectural miracle where technology and aesthetics harmonize perfectly. However, behind that grace is a heart-stopping thrill. Because it is a cantilevered structure with no support at the end, the bridge creates tiny vibrations during high winds or when crowded with tourists. Standing against the transparent glass railings, the empty space beneath your feet can easily make those with a fear of heights feel weak in the knees as the boundary between you and the deep Moskva River seems to vanish. You aren't just sightseeing. You are truly battling your own fears in the middle of a void. From here, your eyes can take in the full glory of Red Square and the Kremlin at sunset, offering a mesmerizing pause before we venture onto roads that hold even more terrifying surprises. If the beauty of Moscow made your soul soar, the next stop will pull you back to a staggering reality where life and the abyss are separated by mere inches. We are heading straight into the heart of the Florida Keys to face the 7-mile bridge. The Great Key connecting the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Known as one of the longest segmental bridges in the world, this structure leaps across dozens of small islands for a total length of nearly 7 miles. From above, the 7-mile bridge looks like a giant concrete dragon, winding through the geography, slithering over turquoise shallows to connect Knight's Key to Little Duck Key. Completed in 1982, it was once the longest precast concrete bridge on the planet. A proud symbol of the legendary overseas highway. Driving here is an experience of solitude in the middle of the ocean. You'll find yourself sandwiched between two infinite blues, the sky and the sea, where the road seems to stretch forever to the end of the world. However, that poetry is sometimes shattered by unannounced gale force winds from the open sea, reminding you that you are moving on a fragile structure amidst the terrifying power of nature. The 7-mile bridge isn't just a vital transport link, it's a song about human courage, daring to build a path through the heart of the ocean. Our journey to conquer the world's wonders has reached its peak, but these breathtaking feelings will surely linger. Have you ever seen a railroad track lift itself into the air to make way for the ocean? Welcome to the Polk Strait, where India's new Pamban Bridge officially debuted in April 2025, completely redefining the concept of a railway wonder. Replacing its aging predecessor that was exhausted after over a century of battling sea salt, this 5 billion rupee mega-project features 99 sturdy spans stretching over 1.2 miles. The most heart-stopping highlight is the massive vertical lift span in the center, measuring 238 feet long. Instead of rotating, this entire steel block weighing thousands of tons is lifted vertically 56 feet, opening a grand gateway for ships to glide underneath. But don't let the modern look fool you. Pamban is located in waters with record-high salt corrosion and unannounced wind gusts. Operating a massive mechanical lift in the middle of the ocean's fury is a true survival problem. A single sensor error or a sudden storm could turn the journey to the sacred island of Rameswaram into a disaster in an instant. The scream of steel in the wind and the violent shaking beneath the train wheels will remind you, conquering the sea has never been a game. The drama in India is enough to make you hold your breath, but the next location will take you to another limit, where the road is so fragile it seems it could vanish into thin air at any moment. The vision of a massive concrete ribbon so long it swallows the horizon is how China showcases its power in Shandong with the Jiaozhou Bay Bridge. Instead of connecting two riverbanks, humans here chose to sew together an entire vast bay using impossible engineering. With a total length of over 26 miles, it held the record for the world's longest cross-sea bridge at the time of its opening. To stand firm in the harsh maritime environment, engineers poured 450,000 tons of steel and over 81 million cubic feet of concrete into the seabed, enough material to build a small city. This 6-lane highway doesn't just connect Qingdao with the Huangdao district. It is a proud transoceanic racetrack with a top speed of 60 miles per hour. Behind the wheel in the heart of the Jiaozhou Bay, you'll be overwhelmed by the feeling that the road has no end. With only the sound of wind whistling past the windows and the vast sea beneath your tires. However, this massive scale must always face a hidden enemy: the ruthless corrosion of sea salt and aggressive tropical storms always waiting to test the structure's durability. Every yard of road here is a breathless race between modern technology and the destruction of time. Jiaozhou is a bold affirmation of humanity's ambition to change the map of geography. Yet, if the dryness of reinforced concrete overwhelms you, our next stop will take you to the complete opposite extreme, where the bridge isn't built, but is a living entity woven from ancient tree roots. After roads swallowed by the sea or hidden under the water, Japan treats us to an extreme visual, a bridge that makes you feel like you're about to drive straight into the sky. Eshima Ohashi, the largest rigid-frame bridge in the land of the rising sun, links Matsue and Sakai Minato, towering nearly 147 feet over Lake Nakaomi. But its size isn't what made it famous. It's a heart-stopping optical illusion of steepness. From a distance, the bridge looks as vertical as a roller coaster of death, making the climb look like an impossible mission. It's no surprise it was labeled the scariest bridge in the world. However, once you're actually rolling, everything is surprisingly normal. There is no free fall, no end-of-the-line moment. It is simply an engineering masterpiece, calculated precisely to completely deceive the human eye. From the top of the bridge, fear gives way to awe as the majestic Mount Dyson and the poetic Daikon Island appear in the middle of the lake. Eshima Ohashi has become a legendary check-in spot because it proves an interesting truth. Sometimes, what terrifies us most isn't actual danger, but how dangerous something looks. After crossing the boundaries of a continent, you come to a place where the road no longer disappears or sinks, but curves as if floating in the sky. The Coronado Bridge, over 2 miles long, connecting San Diego to Coronado Island, is an architectural icon designed by Robert Mosher. With 27 spans reaching heights of 200 feet, enough for massive Navy ships to glide silently underneath. This bridge was once honored as one of the most beautiful in America. From a distance, it is as soft as a ribbon draped across the bay. A perfect curve, so flawless it feels almost surreal. As beautiful as a painting, making you forget you are on a structure suspended in space. But that very curve is what makes many drivers hold their breath. Unlike straight bridges, the Coronado Bridge forces you to constantly adjust your steering as you climb. When you reach the peak, the city behind you gradually disappears. Before you is a wide open void, and below is the deep, dark water. Sea winds can suddenly gust across. Sunlight reflecting off the water can blind your vision, and the curves prevent you from seeing the road fully ahead. A journey that takes only 5 to 10 minutes, but is enough to make you feel like you're crossing an invisible boundary. Because sometimes what makes you anxious isn't the length of the road, but the feeling that you aren't completely in control of it. Japan. There are roads that don't lead you forward, but force you to face yourself through every single turn. Iroha-zaka, located in Nikko, is a pair of one-way mountain roads connecting the lower elevations to Lake Chuzenji. But what makes it infamous isn't the height, it's the 48 consecutive hairpin turns. Each one a unique challenge, named after the 48 ancient syllables of the Iroha alphabet. Here, you don't drive, you negotiate with the road. Every turn of the wheel must be precise. Every corner is a calculation, with nearly zero margin for error. Just one beat too fast, or a second too slow, and your car could slide off its familiar trajectory. On one side is the mountain wall. On the other, a deep yawning void where fog rolls up like a formless ocean. On rainy days or in winter, the road becomes slick, and accidents have happened at these very turns that seem harmless. But the scariest thing isn't the road. It's the feeling when you realize every curve ahead is a question you don't have the right to answer incorrectly. There are roads that don't just take you through a land, but pull you straight into a living painting where nature displays its full power. The Taroko Coastal Cliff Road in Taroko National Park is such a place, where white marble cliffs stand as vertical as giant walls, squeezing the tiny road along the edge of the Hualien Sea. As you move through spots like Swallow Grotto or the Tunnel of Nine Turns, the feeling is no different than drifting through a massive stone labyrinth. Light filters through narrow cracks, reflecting off the stone to create shifting bands of light and shadow, like a slow-motion film. But that beauty always comes with a silent warning. On one side are cliffs that could drop rocks at any moment. On the other is the deep ocean, ever present, right beneath your feet. And if you lose focus for just a few seconds to snap a photo, you might realize you are standing in a place where beautiful background and level of danger are almost perfectly proportional. In Taroko, nature isn't trying to threaten you. It is simply too large, too close, and too real, to the point you can never forget exactly where you are standing. What do you do when the road ahead isn't just difficult, but constantly changes the rules of the game? The Hana Highway gives you no time to adapt. Over 600 curves follow one another like a chain reaction, many of them blind, where you don't know if what's ahead is oncoming traffic or just empty space. Narrow bridges barely wide enough for one-lane force drivers from both sides to read each other's minds in silence. Just one person being half a second slow and everything can turn into chaos. On one side is a sheer cliff where rocks can tumble down at any time after the rain. On the other is the open ocean, with no guardrails strong enough to make you feel safe. And then, just when you think you've gotten used to the rhythm, the Hana Highway changes its attack. Rain comes out of nowhere. Not a drizzle, but curtains of water pouring down like a waterfall, turning the road into a slippery mirror. Tires lose their grip. Visibility shrinks to just a few yards, while the curves continue to appear in rapid succession. In some sections, waterfalls flow directly across the road, forcing you to drive through a torrent without knowing what lies beneath. And the scariest part is that you cannot stop. There isn't enough room. There is no real place to pull over. You can only go forward, through the jungle, through the rain, through the unannounced curves. Here, danger doesn't come in waves. It is a continuous chain with no end. And if you let your guard down for just one moment, this road will not give you a second chance to fix your mistake. Some roads don't need to be obviously dangerous, they just need to place you too close to the edge of the world. In the Faroe Islands, cliffside roads wind like unfinished sketches on the mountain slopes, hanging above the freezing North Atlantic. Routes like Eidisgard to Funungur, Nordre Dalsgard, or the roads on Kalsoy Island are not just narrow and winding. They constantly shift with the steep terrain, where one side is mountain and the other is an open void dropping straight to the ocean. There are sections over 1,300 feet high, where you drive, while feeling as though you are sliding along the rim of a giant cliff. Fog frequently rolls over the passes, hiding the view in seconds, making the scenery ahead vanish as if it never existed. And when the wind rises, it doesn't just blow, it pushes your car away from your familiar sense of control. What makes this place terrifying isn't the speed or the traffic density, it's the absolute isolation. There aren't many guardrails, there is no buffer zone. It's just you, the narrow road, and the infinite ocean stretching out below. And then, between the clouds, the wind, and the unannounced turns, you realize that here, the boundary between the path and the abyss is exactly one turn of the wheel away. There are roads built to mesmerize, and those same roads are the ones that push human nerves to their absolute limit. Strada Statale 163, winding along the Amalfi coast, is a thin ribbon of asphalt suspended between sheer cliffs and the open sea below. Each sharp bend feels like a hidden trap where you never see what lies ahead. Only the edge of the road and the void waiting beyond it. By day, sunlight paints the water in brilliant shades of blue, turning the entire scene into something almost unreal. But the moment the weather shifts, the illusion fades. Rain slicks the surface, rocks can fall without warning, and massive buses still squeeze through spaces that seem impossibly narrow. There are no barriers you can truly trust, only your control, your focus, and the fragile distance between your tires and the drop. Here, beauty isn't a reward, it's a distraction. And all it takes is a single lapse in attention for Amalfi to remind you. Some roads were never meant for mistakes. After traveling through roads where every yard is the boundary between life and loss, what remains is not just the danger, but the question: why do they still exist? In places where waves can swallow the road and wind can push the steering wheel, humans continue to build, continue to cross, as a way of challenging the ocean. Perhaps these roads weren't created for safety, but to remind us that nature has never belonged to us. And if one day you stand before one of them, will you go on or will you turn back? If you want to explore more places that seemingly shouldn't exist, follow us on our next journey.